story starts way down south in the land of cotton, where good times sometimes are forgotten. It starts with me last century when I was in hip waders with sewage up to my waist with a rake, raking shit onto a conveyor. Okay? It was one of my first jobs out of school, and I was sent down by a rinky-dink company that created this crazy idea that was all bluster and not much technology to create a waste stream of wastewater, turn it from sludge into plant matter that could be used for chicken feed, which is absolutely bat fucking crazy, okay? It didn't work. So they thought it was a good idea to send 23-year-old people down to Georgia to make this happen, okay? So every day, I was with a couple other people. The corporate guys would come down once in a while to solve problems, or at least pretend like they were solving problems, but none of the technology worked. And I would end up to my waist in sewage, raking away, okay? Now, one of the interesting things you might think about sewage, I don't know, a lot of you people are familiar with sewage, at least on the influent end, is that a shit tends to go down the stream through a pipe, and it rolls, okay? And it becomes nice little pretty balls at the end. So in the sewage lagoon, you'll see a lot of little ping pong balls running around, and you kind of want to pick them up and juggle. It's kind of fun, okay? But it's shit, okay? All right. So our idea was that we would put these crazy little boats on the lagoon, and we'd come out and we'd try to convey this duckweed, this plant, this pond scum that you may see in ditches, and we'd convey it onto a conveyor up into a tractor and haul it away. But it never fucking worked, okay? Because duckweed, the viscosity is such that you guys aren't chemists probably, but I sort of am. The viscosity changes through the whole thing, and it might be watery, it might be hard, whatever. It didn't work, so I'm with a rake. So me and a colleague who was another young lady from Minnesota, who she was a lesbian, and she was far more man than I ever was. And we had an F-150 truck. This is back in the 80s. We had an F-150 truck, and we played D-Light's Groove is in the Heart all the time. We went to rip up shit, okay? So one day we were called by the mayor and the city council to answer for our failings as a company. So, of course, the corporate guys were gone, right? It's the young people that have to do it. So we pull in the truck into a southern diner that's all total rinky-dink and shit that's nailed onto the side, and we go in there, and there's a bunch of bubbas that are around the table that we have to answer to. And I'd never really thought about the whole rivalry between the North and the South growing up in Wisconsin and Minnesota. It was just something we learned in school, Lincoln and the slaves and the whole deal, right? So I was like, whatever. And I had this sense that people were good to each other, we all worked together, that success would occur, okay? Which I've learned since, right? Life is not fair. In case nobody knows, life's not fair, okay? So we went into this diner, and it was exotic. They had boiled weeds. It was fantastic, like boiled collard greens, and this delicious sweet tea, and this crazy thing, chicken fried steak, and all these guys in white suits. They looked like Boss Hogg from Dukes of Hazzard. All right, I was looking for Bo and Luke, and especially Daisy. I was trying to see if Daisy was in the parking lot, but she wasn't there. And we sat down at the table, and they just hammered us about the money they had spent and what our company had done for them. And one Bubba kind of looks at me, and he says, "Y'all ever been to Andersonville?" And I was like, "Well, no, sir." And he says, "You might want to take a visit there, and you might find some of your relatives." Okay, so I'm like, "Well, yes, sir. I will go visit Andersonville. I'm 23 years old, whatever." And so that was a nasty thing to say, if you guys know Civil War history. But so I myself and my friend Jesse, we actually went to Andersonville. And it's a National Historic Site, it's a Civil War site, and it's a horrible prison where 45,000 Yankee soldiers were sent into a swamp not much different than the shit pond that we worked in every day. And 15,000 Yankees died of dysentery in that swamp. So we toured it, and we were like, yeah, okay, we did it. And of course, we got back in the truck, Groove is in the Heart. Whoa, we played that. And we went back to sort of a horrible situation where we're working in the pond first, the city people, they hate us. They're our rivals. Hell, that was pretty quick. And the company doesn't support us. And the day before we were about to go, I was in the pond raking shit again into a conveyor, and I heard this sound of leaves blowing against the fence, and it was a beautiful sound. I thought, oh, that's fall. It's a beautiful sound. Until I realized what that actually was tampon applicators that had come out of the sewage lagoon and had blown against the fence. So that day at lunch, this is the day before I left, we went and met with the city council again. It was a little late in the season. We weren't going to fix the problem. The same old bubbas were there. And I sit next to this guy. We ate our chicken fried steak and the sweet tea, which is delicious. If you guys go to the South, yeah, baby. I got to talk to him, and I finally said, sir, we did visit Andersonville, and I looked up. My last name is Brunner, which is German. There were no Brunners there. My mom's last name is Anderson. There was an Anderson, and he escaped. So the next day, I escaped, went back to the north. That's my story.